If a woman hugs you and time seems to slow down, your body already knows something your mind is trying to deny. Because some hugs are not comfort, they're confessions wrapped in silence. I want you to listen carefully, not with your ears, but with that quiet place in your chest where truth lands before logic interferes. Most men are taught to analyze words, chase signals, decode texts, and miss the loudest message of all: how a woman uses her body when she thinks no one is grading her. A hug is not random, it is not casual, it is not automatic. When a woman hugs you a certain way, she is revealing how safe you feel to her, how close she wants you, and whether she is testing a future she hasn't admitted out loud. And no, she will never explain this directly because attraction doesn't announce itself. It leaks. There is a kind of hug that lasts a second too long where her arms don't just touch your back, they settle. Not clingy, not desperate, settled. In that moment, her nervous system is saying, I belong here, at least for now. Women don't linger where they don't feel emotionally regulated. If she stays, if her body exhales against yours, that's not politeness. That's trust forming in real time. Men who rush past this miss the point completely. This is not about romance yet. This is about safety, and safety is the doorway to everything else. Pay attention to where her head goes. If she turns her face toward your chest instead of keeping distance, that's instinct. That's the same instinct that seeks protection when the world feels loud. You didn't earn that with a line or a look. You earned it by being consistent, grounded, and emotionally predictable. Women don't relax into chaos. They relax into men whose presence lowers the volume of their thoughts. When her head rests there, even briefly, she is telling you your energy calms her. That is rare and it is powerful. Now notice the release. Does she pull away quickly, or does she hesitate at the end like she's deciding whether to stay one more second? That hesitation is a crossroads. It's the moment where desire negotiates with caution. She feels something, but she's checking whether you're safe enough to feel more. If you mistake that moment and grab tighter, you fail the test. If you pull away cold, you also fail. The men who understand simply stay present, still, calm, letting her choose, because attraction deepens where choice is respected. Here's the part most men don't want to hear. A hug like this doesn't mean she's yours. It means she's open. And openness is fragile. It closes fast when mishandled. If you start performing, proving, or pushing after this, you turn a moment of connection into a reason for her to retreat. Masculine strength here is restraint. Confidence is not escalation. Confidence is containment. Remember this. Women reveal the truth of their feelings through their bodies long before they confess them with words. If you learn to read the hug, you stop chasing clarity. You become it. There is another kind of hug that almost no one talks about, because it exposes a layer of female psychology that most men are never trained to see. This is the hug where her arms wrap around you firmly, but her hands don't stay still. They press, they adjust. Sometimes they slide slightly as if she's unconsciously anchoring herself. This is not nervousness. This is investment beginning to form. When a woman tightens a hug without realizing it, she is responding to an internal feeling of connection that surprised her. Her body is confirming something her mind hasn't approved yet. Women are highly attuned to emotional shifts in themselves. When something feels unfamiliar but good, the body reacts first. That tightening is her way of saying this matters more than I expected. And here's what's critical. She is not hugging you. She is hugging how she feels when she is with you. Men who understand this stop trying to impress and start protecting the feeling instead. Because the moment she associates you with emotional steadiness, attraction deepens quietly and powerfully. Pay attention to her breathing during the hug. If her breath slows instead of speeding up, you are not exciting her in a chaotic way. You are regulating her. That is a different level of attraction. That's not butterflies. That's grounding. A woman may feel butterflies for many men. She will only feel grounded with very few. Grounded men become long-term fixtures in a woman's emotional world, whether they realize it or not. This is where attachment begins, not with passion, but with peace. Now notice something subtle but revealing. What happens after the hug ends? Does she step back and immediately fill the space with words, or does she allow a quiet pause? Silence after a hug is intimacy. If she doesn't rush to break it, she is letting the emotional residue linger. Women don't sit in silence with men they feel indifferent toward. Silence requires comfort. Comfort requires trust. Trust requires emotional safety. This is why some men feel women pull away, when in reality the man broke the moment too quickly out of discomfort. Here is where many men sabotage themselves. They feel the depth of that hug and immediately want certainty. They want to define it, label it, lock it down. That urge is fear, not confidence. The male instinct to secure can clash with the female need to unfold. When you rush to name what she hasn't finished feeling, you collapse attraction into pressure. Women retreat from pressure even when they desire the man applying it. Understand this clearly. A meaningful hug is not an invitation to advance physically or emotionally. It is an invitation to hold frame, to remain the same grounded presence she just responded to. If you change after the hug, becoming needier, more intense, more performative, her nervous system notices immediately and it quietly closes. There is also the hug where she pulls you in from the side, not facing you fully. This is a testing hug. It says, I want closeness, but I'm still protecting myself. Side hugs that linger are often preludes to deeper connection if handled with patience. They are not rejection. They are calibration. Women measure how a man handles partial access before granting full emotional entry. The men who win long-term don't chase the hug. They understand it. They read it. And they respond by becoming more stable, not more demanding. Attraction grows where a woman feels emotionally free, not emotionally cornered. And every hug is a quiet negotiation of that freedom. There is a hug that feels different because it isn't about closeness. It's about comparison. This is the hug where she leans in fully chest to chest, and her body aligns with yours without hesitation. When this happens, she is subconsciously measuring how you feel against other men she's known. Not how you look, not what you say, how your presence registers in her body. Women are constantly, quietly asking themselves one question: do I feel more myself around him or less? A full body hug like this often answers that question in your favor. When her hips don't pull back and there's no stiffness in her posture, her body is signaling acceptance. This kind of alignment only happens when a woman feels both attraction and emotional permission. She is not worried about misinterpretation in that moment. She is not guarding, she is allowing. And allowance is something women only give when they sense maturity and self-control in the man they're with. Ironically, the men who are least likely to misuse closeness are the ones women allow closest. Now, notice the pressure. Is it equal, or does she lean more into you than you into her? If she leans more, she is exploring dependence in a very small, very safe way. This doesn't mean she wants to rely on you for everything. It means she is testing whether leaning feels supported or awkward. Your job in that moment is not to tighten or withdraw, but to be solid. Let her feel that her weight, emotional or physical, is not a burden to you. This is how women decide who they can trust when life gets heavy. There's also something revealing about how she disengages. If she pulls back slowly and maintains eye contact afterward, that's not accidental. Eye contact after physical closeness is a vulnerability check. She's watching your face to see if you look hungry, possessive, or calm. Calm is the correct answer. Calm tells her that you don't need the hug to mean something specific for you to stay grounded. That makes her feel free. And freedom is the soil where desire grows. Here's a truth most men never hear. Women are not afraid of men's strength. They are afraid of men's unmanaged desire. A hug that feels safe is one where she senses you are in control of yourself. When she feels that attraction doesn't spike, it deepens. Spikes fade, depth stays. Sometimes a woman will hug you tightly and then lightly tap your back or shoulder before letting go. That tap is not dismissal. It's reassurance. It's her way of saying, "This was good and I'm okay." Women often use touch to regulate transitions. If you misread that tap as a signal to escalate, you break the rhythm. If you read it as closure and respect it, you strengthen trust. Now, let's talk about the hug that happens when she's emotional, stressed, tired, overwhelmed. If she seeks you out in that state and initiates contact, that is not romance in the movie sense. That is something deeper. She is choosing you as a place to decompress. Men who become emotional landing spots often underestimate their value because it doesn't look flashy. But women attach most strongly to men who make their inner world feel manageable. The mistake men make here is trying to fix, advise, or reassure verbally. The hug already did the work. Silence, steadiness, and presence are the language she understands in that moment. When you don't interrupt that language, she associates you with relief. And relief is addictive in the healthiest way. If you want to know how a woman truly feels, don't listen to what she says after the hug. Watch how she behaves the next time she sees you. Comfort shows itself in consistency, and consistency is the truest confession a woman ever makes. There is a hug that reveals not desire but conflict. This is the hug where she holds you close, yet her body remains slightly tense, as if part of her wants to stay and part of her is ready to pull away. Men often misread this as mixed signals, but it's more precise than that. This hug happens when a woman feels something for you that challenges her current beliefs, past experiences, or emotional boundaries. Her body is negotiating with her history, and that negotiation shows up in tension. When her arms are around you, but her shoulders stay lifted, she is protecting herself while still engaging. This means you matter, but she hasn't decided what you mean yet. And here's the uncomfortable truth. You cannot talk her into clarity. The more you try to resolve this with words, the more pressure she feels. Pressure activates defense, not desire. What resolves internal conflict is time and emotional safety, not persuasion. Notice whether she exhales deeply while hugging you. A deep exhale followed by a pause is release. That's her nervous system letting go, even briefly. If that exhale is followed by a softening of her grip or shoulders, you've just witnessed her body choosing trust over fear, even if only for a moment. Those moments accumulate. They don't need commentary. They need consistency. Sometimes she will hug you during a goodbye that feels heavier than expected, longer, quieter, less casual. This is often a sign she is feeling the weight of separation more than she wants to admit. Women who are emotionally detached don't linger in goodbyes. They exit cleanly. Lingering is attachment trying not to be obvious. If she stays a second longer than necessary, she's feeling the absence before it happens. Here's where self-mastery matters. A man who senses this and becomes emotionally dramatic, nostalgic, or needy turns a meaningful moment into emotional labor for her. But a man who remains grounded while still present becomes someone she feels safe missing. That's a powerful position. When a woman misses you without resentment or guilt, you become part of her emotional rhythm. There's also the hug she gives when she's proud of you. This one is often overlooked. It's quick, warm, and sincere. Not sexual, not heavy, just real. When a woman hugs you like this, she is aligning herself with your progress. She feels connected to who you are becoming. This kind of support creates a quiet bond that goes deeper than attraction. It creates partnership energy, and partnership begins long before commitment is discussed. Pay attention to whether she initiates hugs more often over time. Frequency is a stronger indicator than intensity. One intense hug can be situational. Repeated consistent hugs mean you are becoming a familiar source of comfort. Familiarity, when paired with respect, is not boring to women. It's stabilizing. And stability is what turns interest into attachment. The most revealing hugs are the ones she doesn't have to think about. Automatic hugs. Reflexive hugs. When her body moves toward you without deliberation, that's integration. You're no longer an external presence. You're becoming part of her emotional environment. Men who reach this stage often don't realize it because they're still chasing signs instead of recognizing patterns. Understand this. Every hug is data, not proof, not a promise. Data. And wise men don't react to single data points. They observe trends. When the trend is warmth, ease, and repetition, something meaningful is forming beneath the surface. And the less you try to control it, the more naturally it grows. Section 5. There is one final hug that tells you more than all the others combined because it happens when nothing is required. No greeting, no goodbye, no emotional trigger, just presence. This is the hug she gives when she feels aligned with you, not seeking anything, not proving anything. She steps in naturally, comfortably, as if it's the most normal thing in the world. And that's exactly why it matters. Normalized closeness is the deepest signal of all. When a woman hugs you without a reason, she is revealing that her body now associates you with homeostasis, balance, familiar safety. This is not excitement in the loud sense. This is attraction that has settled into certainty. Men often overlook this because it doesn't feel dramatic. But women don't build futures on drama. They build them on emotional reliability. And this kind of hug is reliability made physical. Notice how effortless it feels. There's no adjustment, no hesitation, no awkward timing. Her arms find their place like they've done it before, even if they haven't. This is muscle memory forming ahead of conscious decision. It means her nervous system has categorized you as safe to approach. That category is small. And once you're in it, you don't need to chase. You need to maintain. Here's the responsibility that comes with that. When a woman feels this level of comfort, she becomes more sensitive to shifts in your behavior. Inconsistency that might have gone unnoticed before now feels destabilizing. This is why men sometimes lose women right after things start feeling good. Not because they did something wrong once, but because they stopped being who they were when the bond formed. Stability attracts, stability keeps. There is also a hug she gives when she's about to pull back emotionally. It's softer, less pressure, almost polite. This isn't punishment. It's self-P protection. Women reduce physical closeness before they reduce communication. The body moves first. If you notice hugs becoming lighter, shorter, less frequent, don't panic and don't chase. Chasing confirms her fear that closeness creates obligation. The correct response is self-respect and steadiness. Let her feel the contrast between pressure and presence. Now understand this clearly. No hug guarantees love. No hug secures commitment. But hugs reveal trajectory. They show you whether things are opening or closing, deepening or stalling. Men who learn to read trajectory stop obsessing over outcomes. They stay focused on becoming the kind of man whose presence consistently feels good to be around. The greatest mistake men make is trying to use female psychology as a tool for control. That always backfires. The purpose of understanding is not manipulation. It's alignment. When you align your behavior with emotional intelligence, women feel it instantly. And when they feel understood without being dissected, attraction grows without force. A woman hugging you in a meaningful way is not asking you to act. She's asking you to be calm, be grounded, be consistent, be emotionally literate without being reactive. When you master that, you stop needing signs because women start choosing you without explanation. So, here's the question I want you to sit with and answer honestly in the comments. When a woman hugs you, do you feel the need to prove something? Or do you feel at peace being exactly who you are? If this spoke to you, like the video. Subscribe for deeper truths most men never hear, and share this with a friend who needs to understand what women communicate without words. There is one hug that reveals the final truth, and it's the one most men feel but rarely understand. It's the hug where nothing is happening on the surface, yet everything is happening underneath. No heightened emotion, no tension, no moment to explain it. She just steps into you naturally like her body already decided before her mind checked in. This is not a signal of excitement. This is a signal of belonging. And belonging is far deeper than attraction. When a woman hugs you this way, she is not seeking reassurance, comfort, or validation. She is simply responding to how normal you feel to her nervous system. Normal doesn't mean boring. Normal means regulated, safe, familiar in the best way. This is the hug that happens when you become part of her emotional baseline. She doesn't feel higher or lower around you. She feels steady, and that steadiness is rare in a world that constantly overstimulates her. Pay attention to how her body moves before the hug. If she doesn't slow down or prepare, if there's no visible decision-making, that tells you something important. Her body is acting on instinct, not intention. Instinctive closeness means you've passed countless subconscious filters without even realizing it. You didn't convince her. You didn't perform. You simply remained consistent long enough for trust to settle in her body. Here's where many men make their biggest mistake. Once they feel this level of closeness, they relax their self-respect. They stop leading their own life. They become emotionally available but internally passive. And that shift is subtle, but women feel it immediately. A woman can feel safe with you and still lose attraction if you stop being anchored in your own direction. Safety invites closeness. Direction maintains desire. You need both. There is also the hug that feels almost unfinished. She steps in, holds you briefly, and pulls back gently like she's leaving something unsaid. This isn't confusion. This is restraint. She feels more than she's ready to express, and her body is keeping her honest without overwhelming her. Men who sense this and push for clarity usually destroy the moment. Men who allow it give her space to arrive at her feelings naturally. Attraction grows fastest when it's not interrogated. Now understand this truth clearly. Women do not attach to moments. They attach to patterns. One powerful hug doesn't change anything, but a pattern of warmth, ease, and emotional safety absolutely does. If every time she hugs you, she feels calmer, more grounded, and more herself, you are creating emotional gravity. Gravity doesn't pull instantly. It pulls consistently, and over time, resistance fades. You must also recognize when hugs begin to change. When they lose depth, lose warmth, or become routine, that's not always loss of interest. Sometimes it's comfort without polarity. Comfort alone creates friendship. Polarity creates desire. The solution is not distance or coldness. The solution is self-expansion. When you grow, pursue, and challenge yourself, polarity naturally returns. Women are drawn to men who are emotionally safe and internally alive. The deepest form of attraction is when a woman feels free with you, not dependent on you. A hug that feels open, relaxed, and unforced is her body telling you she doesn't feel trapped by closeness. She feels enriched by it. And that is the foundation of every healthy, lasting connection. So before you ask what a hug means, ask yourself this: are you a man whose presence adds peace without removing desire? Because when you become that man, women don't just hug you differently, they choose you differently. Now, answer this honestly in the comments. When a woman hugs you, does your energy invite her to feel free, or does it quietly ask her to stay? If this changed the way you see connection, like the video, subscribe for more truths most men are never taught, and share this with a friend who needs to understand what women reveal without ever saying a word. Pay attention to how her body moves before the hug. If she doesn't slow down or prepare, if there's no visible decision-making, that tells you something important. Her body is acting on instinct, not intention. Instinctive closeness means you've passed countless subconscious filters without even realizing it. You didn't convince her. You didn't perform. You simply remained consistent long enough for trust to settle in her body. Here's where many men make their biggest mistake. Once they feel this level of closeness, they relax their self-respect. They stop leading their own life. They become emotionally available but internally passive. And that shift is subtle, but women feel it immediately. A woman can feel safe with you and still lose attraction if you stop being anchored in your own direction. Safety invites closeness. Direction maintains desire. You need both.